My brother's dying wish was for me to marry the woman I loved. The only problem? She was already my girlfriend. And she didn't take betrayal lightly. Not when she was a 9th-dan black belt who once broke a man's wrist for touching her without permission. Not when her temper could flip a dinner table over a cold appetizer, and definitely not when she had made it very clear. She didn't believe in pity, charity, or lies. So when Liam, weak and barely able to speak, gripped my wrist and whispered, "Marry her, please." For me, I felt like I was stepping into a minefield. She didn't know he was dying. She didn't know he had fallen for her. And she didn't know I was about to break her heart. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I didn't choose this. I never imagined I'd stand at the edge of a cliff, heart in my throat, trying to honor the man who'd saved my life more times than I could count, by offering up the woman who was my entire world. But when your brother is gasping for breath, tears in his eyes, and begging you with what might be his last words, you don't say no, even if it means letting the woman you love believe you betrayed her. Even if it means watching her storm out of your life with fire in her eyes and rage in her fists. Even if it means she'll hate you forever. Because sometimes, keeping a promise hurts more than breaking a heart. Liam and I were never just brothers. We were survivors. After our parents died in a car crash when I was 15 and he was just 10, the world didn't cut us any slack. We bounced from one relative to another, some indifferent, some outright cruel, until I turned 18, dropped out of college before even finishing the first semester, and started working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. Liam was my shadow, my reason, my burden, and my best friend. I raised him, brushed his hair before school, sat outside his classroom during parent-teacher meetings pretending to be our uncle. I taught him how to tie a tie for prom, how to shave, how to deal with heartbreak. I was all he had. But then she came into our lives, Ava, and suddenly we both had someone. I met Ava at a self-defense workshop, where I volunteered as a punching bag, literally. She knocked me out cold with a spinning kick when I wasn't paying attention. When I woke up, she was apologizing, while laughing. God, that laugh. Ava was fierce, elegant, and untouchable. An heiress to a billion-dollar martial arts apparel empire, she was more comfortable barefoot on a dojo mat than in designer heels. She didn't care about image, or money, or fame. She once broke a guy's nose for calling her babe in a club. And somehow she fell for me. Hard. I still don't know why. Maybe it was the way I looked at her like she was human instead of royalty. Maybe because I never flinched when she raised her voice, or when she told me stories about the pressure of being her family's perfect daughter. Whatever it was, we clicked. She met Liam 6 months into our relationship. He spilled juice on her white hoodie the moment she walked in the door. I wanted to die. She laughed. They bonded instantly. She taught him jujitsu. He taught her video games. The 2 of them were like siblings from another life. Sometimes I felt like the third wheel when we all hung out, but I didn't mind. I loved that they loved each other. It gave me peace, and for the first time, I thought maybe life had finally handed me something good. Something solid. But I was wrong. 3 months ago, Liam started getting tired, losing weight, dark circles under his eyes. He'd brush it off, say it was just stress or lack of sleep, until the day he collapsed. Stage 4 cancer. Terminal? No warnings, no time. We went from planning his 22nd birthday to scheduling chemotherapy, from video games and fast food to hospital beds and heart monitors. Ava was devastated. She stayed by his side, cooked for him, sat through every treatment. He called her sunshine. She called him trouble. Sometimes I'd look at them and feel something weird, a flicker of unease. The way his eyes lingered too long. The way her laughter softened when she talked to him. But I buried it. Because I trusted them both. Because I had to. But now I was standing between my dying brother and the woman I'd planned to spend forever with, watching one slip away while the other didn't even know what was coming. The night it all began, it was raining. The kind of cold, whispering rain that creeps under your skin and makes the city feel like a ghost town. I was on my way back from picking up Liam's prescriptions. The bag was still in my hand when I opened the front door and froze in the hallway. Their laughter echoed down the corridor. Soft where intimate. The kind of laugh people share when the world falls away and only they exist. I walked quietly, not sure why I felt like an intruder in my own home. And then I saw them, on the couch, side by side. Ava was holding a blanket over Liam's shoulders, her head tilted toward him, eyes gentle. He reached up, touching a strand of her hair, slowly, like it was something precious. Too slow, too soft. They didn't see me. I stepped back, heart pounding. It wasn't what I thought, right? They were close. Always had been. She loved him like a brother. That's what she always said. But brothers don't look at you like that. And girlfriends don't blush like that. Not when the man in front of them isn't the one they're dating. I didn't confront them. Not that night. I couldn't. Instead, I buried it like I always did. Shoved it under logic and loyalty and the mountain of guilt that came with Liam's diagnosis. He was dying. What was I going to do? Accuse him? Her? We only had weeks left. Maybe days. I told myself I was being paranoid. That Ava was just being kind. That Liam was emotional. That love, real love, didn't shift that easily. But the next day, something happened that cracked that lie apart. Liam pulled me aside in the hospital room. He was smiling, barely, but there was a spark in his eyes I hadn't seen in months. "I want to propose," he whispered, breath shallow, "to Ava." I stared at him. "What?" She doesn't know how I feel," he said quickly, sensing my shock. "Not really, but I've written her a letter. I want you to give it to her after I'm gone." I shook my head. "Liam, I need this, man," he said, clutching my hand. "It's my dying wish. Please, I want her to be happy. She's sunshine. She deserves to be loved by someone strong, someone brave, someone like you." I swallowed. He had no idea that I was already hers, that we were planning to move in together, that we'd been secretly looking at rings. I couldn't breathe. "I'm begging you," he whispered. "Make her yours. For me." That was the moment my world began to shatter, because I realized something terrifying. He loved her. Deeply. Desperately. And maybe, just maybe, she didn't know who she loved anymore either. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, Ava's faint perfume lingering on the pillow beside me like a ghost. Should I tell her? Should I tell her that Liam had written her a love letter? That he was in love with her? That he wanted me to marry her for him? I clenched my fists. She had a right to know, but so did I. I needed to know. Was she falling for him too? The next morning, I watched her move around the kitchen like nothing was wrong. Hair in a messy bun, humming softly, flipping pancakes. She kissed my cheek like always, but it felt different. Too gentle. Too absent. "Hey," I asked, keeping my voice casual. "You and Liam were up late last night?" She looked up, surprised. "Yeah, he couldn't sleep. We just talked." "Talked?" She raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, about his treatment, about death, about stuff." I nodded slowly. My voice was steady, but inside, my thoughts were splintering. "What stuff?" "You okay?" she asked, tilting her head. "You look pale." "I'm fine." I wasn't. Every moment became a test. Every glance between them, every smile, every shared joke, it all started to twist in my chest, like I was watching something I was never supposed to see. I'd always trusted them. But now? Now I was replaying everything like a detective on a murder board. The way she always answered his texts instantly. The way his eyes lingered on her when he thought no one was looking. The way her mood shifted when he was around. Lighter, brighter, warmer. But I had no proof. And Liam, God, Liam, he was fading fast. His skin turning gray. His bones showing beneath his shirt. He didn't have time. I couldn't rob him of a peaceful ending. So I said nothing. Instead, I started pulling away from Ava. Bit by bit. I stopped holding her hand at night. Stopped kissing her goodbye. Stopped talking about the future. She noticed. One evening, she cornered me in the hallway. "What's going on with you?" she asked, crossing her arms. "You've been acting like a stranger lately." I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout, "Do you love him? Did I lose you without even realizing it?" But I couldn't. "I'm just tired," I lied. "It's been a lot." She stepped closer. "I know, but we're in this together, right?" I nodded, but I couldn't look her in the eye. Because I didn't know anymore. I didn't know if she was still mine, or if she ever truly had been. A few days later, I found the letter Liam had written. He handed it to me with trembling fingers. "Don't read it," he whispered. "It's not for you. Just give it to her after I'm gone. Promise me." I held the envelope like it was burning. Ava's name was scrawled across the front in Liam's shaky handwriting. No heart, no flourish, just raw, unfiltered love pressed into every stroke. I stuffed it into my drawer and locked it. But the lock couldn't keep out the voices in my head. What if she reads it and realizes she felt the same way all along? What if I lose her to a ghost? Worse, what if I already have? A week later, Liam collapsed. Right there in the hospital hallway, mid-sentence. One moment he was chuckling about some TV show, the next, his body crumpled like paper. I dropped everything and ran to him, screaming his name. He was barely breathing. They rushed him into emergency care. Ava arrived minutes later, out of breath, eyes wild. She saw me standing outside the ICU, hands shaking, face white. "What happened?" she gasped. "They're trying to stabilize him," I said numbly. She stood there frozen, lips parted, like she couldn't process the words. Then suddenly, she broke. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and without thinking she grabbed my arm. "I can't lose him," she whispered. I froze. Not we. Not us. Just him. Her hands were trembling, her eyes fixed on the door like her whole world was behind it. I'd never seen her fall apart like that, not even when her mother died. This was something deeper, rawer. I stared at her, everything inside me going cold. "You love him," I said, before I could stop myself. She blinked. "What?" "You love him, Ava?" "No, he's your brother." "But you do, don't you?" I said, more forcefully now. "You love him." She took a step back. "It's not like that." "Then tell me what it is," I demanded. She looked down, wiping her tears, her silence louder than a scream. "I didn't mean to," she said finally, her voice breaking. "It just happened. He's dying, and he gets me. He listens. He's always known who I really am." I couldn't breathe. I felt like someone had slammed a hammer through my ribs. "And what about me?" I asked quietly. "What was I? Just a placeholder?" "No!" she cried, stepping forward. "I love you too. I do. But it's different with Liam. It's peaceful, safe. With you, it's fire. With him, it's quiet." That sentence would haunt me for the rest of my life. With you, it's fire. With him, it's quiet. Before I could speak again, the doctor walked out. "He made it," she said, "but barely." Ava burst into tears again. I nodded, numb. But just as we turned toward the room, the doctor added, "By the way, he kept mumbling a name when he came to." I turned, startled. "Whose name?" The doctor frowned. "Yours? Mine?" She nodded. "He kept saying, 'Tell him not to read the letter. Not yet. He's not ready.'" Then he blacked out again. A chill ran through me. Not ready? What the hell was in that letter? That night, I waited until Ava fell asleep on the hospital couch. Then I drove home. Hands shaking, I unlocked the drawer. I held the letter for a long time. Then, slowly, I opened it. And what I read inside didn't just break my heart. It shattered everything I believed about my brother, my girlfriend, and the entire life I thought I was living. I stared at the letter, my hands trembling. "To my brother, if you're reading this before I'm gone, I'm sorry." I read on, the words slicing through me like knives. "You were always the better man, the stronger one. I envied you every day. You had the confidence I never could fake. But the one thing I never meant to take was her. I tried to push her away. God knows I tried. But she kept showing up, asking questions, sitting beside me, crying for me. And little by little, I stopped pretending I didn't want her to. She doesn't know I loved her before you even introduced us. You brought her to that family barbecue 3 years ago, remember? The way she laughed, the way she flipped you off for stealing her fries. I fell that day, and I hated myself for it. When I got diagnosed, I thought it would pass, that I'd fade out of the picture and you two would be happy. But she kept staying, and I was too weak to tell her not to. I told you my dying wish was for you to marry her, but the truth is, I said that because I thought she'd say no. I thought she'd pull away. I didn't think you'd actually do it, or that she'd say yes. And now you both look miserable, and that's on me, because I broke something I had no right to touch." I dropped the letter. My head felt like it was splitting open. The rage, the betrayal, the confusion. My brother, the person I'd loved and protected all my life, had been in love with my girlfriend from the very beginning. Not during the sickness, not in passing, from the very start. And Ava? She had stayed, kept returning to him, letting him in, letting him take my place. I stormed back to the hospital. My footsteps echoed through the sterile halls like thunder. I pushed open Liam's room door without knocking. He looked up, frail, sunken-eyed, hooked to tubes. "Ava's not here," he said weakly. "I didn't come for her." He froze. I pulled the crumpled letter from my pocket and threw it on his chest. "You said I wasn't ready to read it. Guess what? I read it." Silence. Then slowly, painfully, he sat up a little, wincing. "I didn't want you to hate me." "Too late," I snapped, his eyes filled with tears. "I'm dying, man." "That doesn't give you the right to live my life in the meantime. I didn't ask her to fall for me." "But you didn't stop it either," I shouted. "You let her come to you. You fed it. You sat there, playing the tragic hero while I was out here building a future for us." He looked away. "I loved her before you even knew how lucky you were to have her." That did it. I stepped back, chest heaving. "You know what hurts most," I said. "It's not just that you betrayed me. It's that I would have given you anything, Liam. I would have given you the world if you asked. But you didn't ask. You stole." His voice cracked. "She still loves you." "No," I said. "She loved the idea of saving someone, of feeling special. You gave her that." He covered his face with his hand, shoulders shaking. And then Ava walked in. She froze when she saw us. Her eyes darted between me and the letter in my hand. "You read it?" she whispered. I nodded. "Every word." She stepped forward. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." "But it was," I said. "You just didn't have the guts to admit it." She opened her mouth, But no words came. For the first time since all this began, she had nothing to say, a mix of painful closure and quiet strength. Liam never apologized again. After that day, things shifted. He survived the scare, recovered slowly, but our bond didn't. I stayed away. Ava tried to call a few times, left messages. We need to talk. But I had nothing left to say. I spent nights walking the empty streets alone, trying to make sense of it all, of her silence, of his quiet betrayal. They didn't sleep together, at least I don't think they did. But emotional cheating? That was worse. That meant they shared something real. And I was the outsider in my own story. 2 weeks later, I got a call from my parents. Liam wanted to see me. I hesitated. Then I went. He was in the backyard, wrapped in a blanket, looking up at the sky. His hair thinner now, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought I had time to make it right, he said. Turns out, I was wrong. I didn't answer. I sat beside him, watching the same stars. She visits less now, he added after a while. I think she feels guilty. She should, I said. Silence. Then he reached into his pocket and handed me something. A little velvet box. I bought this the day after you told me you were going to propose to her. I never opened it until now. I opened the box. Inside was a simple ring. Elegant. Quiet. I thought I'd die with that regret, he said. But I guess I don't have to now. I looked at him, trying to recognize the brother I once idolized. I forgave you, I said finally, but I won't forget you. He nodded. That's fair. That was the last time we really spoke. Liam passed away 6 weeks later. At the funeral, Ava stood on the other side of the crowd. Black dress, dark glasses, but I could see the grief carved into every angle of her face. When the service ended, she approached me. I'm sorry, she said. I said nothing. I never meant to fall for him, but I did. And that doesn't make it okay. I know that now. Still, I said nothing. She reached into her purse, pulled out a letter, and handed it to me. He wrote this for you, but he told me to give it to you only after he was gone. I took it, slowly, reluctantly. She hesitated. I never stopped loving you, you know, not really. Then you should have chosen me when it mattered, I replied. And I walked away. I never opened that second letter. Some truths are better left unread. 6 months later, I moved cities, new job, new apartment, new everything. I still see them sometimes, in dreams, in flashes of memory. Liam laughing at one of his own terrible jokes, Ava stealing fries off my plate. But they feel like characters in a book I once loved, until I read the last chapter and hated the ending. One night, I was sitting at a quiet cafe when a girl dropped her coffee in front of me. Her cheeks turned red, eyes wide, clearly embarrassed. I'm so sorry, she said, frantically wiping the table. I laughed for the first time in months. It's okay, it's just coffee. She looked up, smiled shyly, and just like that, something unfamiliar stirred in my chest. Hope. Maybe love didn't have to come with betrayal. Maybe not all stories ended like mine. Maybe some began quietly, with spilled coffee and second chances. As I walked out of the cafe with her number in my phone, I realized something. I didn't need to erase the past. I just had to stop letting it write my future.